Hi, I'm Keith McGowan, the Outboard Dad. Today we're going to continue on with Jake's 9.9 water pump and seal now replacements. We're going to put our shifter shaft cog back in where it hits once we get our lower unit up. But if you remember, we needed to check underneath because we didn't see this little rubber part and it doesn't really attach to the top of the lower unit. We have our lower unit sitting now. It's been sitting for about 5 minutes holding 10 pounds, so I'm sure we're good as far as seal goes. But let's take a look underneath there and see what this looks like. So as we look inside here, we can see that piece is there, just like it showed in the drawing. So I'm going to go ahead and wiggle that out and see how it fits. I'd like to replace it since we have a new one, but it looks like that just meets up with the lower unit when it gets tightened against it, and since it's rubber, it probably squishes in there a little bit to form a nice tight seal. So let's check it out. Okay, so we went ahead and took this piece out just like it shows in the drawing, and check it out. It's a little cracked. It's very brittle, so I'm going to go ahead and slide this out of the tube. Doesn't appear to be clogged at all, looks to be free. So we're going to just clean this up. We're going to go ahead and put this back on, lining it up the same way as it came off. But we are not going to put this rubber piece, the new one, on here. We're going to make sure we line up the lower unit. I'm actually going to take a little bit of that weather strip adhesive and I'm going to stick it on there so it stays in place so I don't, jockey it around. It shouldn't really matter, but I just think it's going to help us put it together. So let's go ahead and clean this up. I'm going to slide this over the new one. I'll probably put a little bit of WD-40 on here so it slides on nicely when we tighten it up against it. Should seal off nice, but if you remember, I need to get my air compressor going because I want to blow some air through here. I'm going to shine the light up in this tube and make sure it's clear so when we fire this up we get good water flow. Just want to check every detail that I can while I'm here with this apart. Yes, it takes a little longer to do those things, but the more things we check and catch now, the better off we're going to be when we're out on the water. So here's what I'm noticing now. I did a little inspection underneath. There's a copper tube that comes all the way down there. When I slide this up, it goes all the way through and just meets the end of this. So in other words, it's going right, that copper tube is going right into this rubber piece to seal off. This is really acting as just a guide. So we're going to get the guide up inside there, make sure it's in where it needs to be. Might even, actually I'm probably going to put it on the lower unit, and this way this will guide the whole thing together and it should line right up and bolt right up together. I guess we're going to find out if it's that easy. Let's try it. So as I said, we're going to go ahead and check that tube, make sure it's clear, make sure it comes all the way out. A lot of these older motors don't have thermostats on them, so we're not worried about it being closed because it doesn't have one. Unless I'm missing something, I went through all the parts blow up, look at the top of the engine closely. So let's take some compressed air, just a little bit. I'm not here to blast, I don't want to blow any gaskets out or anything like that. Just want to get it in the tube here. And here's our outlet where our pee hole is. And I just want to, yep. Not sure if you can hear that, but it's blowing right through. So we should be good to go. Now let's get the lower unit on. Okay, we're pretty much set with our lower unit. If you look there closely, you can see a little bit of sealer I put just to hold that in place. Even if it rotated, it probably wouldn't matter because once this gets up in there, the shaft is right, the drive shaft is right next to that tube that goes up, our water tube to feed water to the motor. So it shouldn't matter, but I hope it holds it in place a little better when we're putting it together because I fumble around a lot sometimes. So we got to make sure our shift shaft goes through the right hole. And I also see I didn't take the tape off yet. We have to take the tape off of that. Also, I want to make sure I put some grease on that, right? So let's grease this up and get it ready. Okay, so we got the shaft lubed up. We're ready to slide this on. I've got one bolt sitting here ready to go. I'm going to put a little grease on the bolt as well to make sure that all of them are greased up really good when we tighten them down so that they come out better next time. So let's see if we can get this in here. So I'm holding my flashlight this way so I can shine up and take a look, sitting on my butt because it's a little tough with the chair. The shift shaft has to go up here. So now I'm going to have to stand up. This will be fun. So if you look inside at our shift shaft, look at that. It lined right up. That's pretty amazing how it went right in there. Something tells me Mercury guys back then designed this really well, because I am not that lucky. So now we have this small pin that has to go in there. So this pin will slide in, and then it clips down. And then we'll put on this piece here. We put a couple marks on the shaft for that piece. So we'll look at that piece and see, make sure we have that marked up properly. I don't know why we're not. So then we have this piece here that we're going to put in that goes next on our shift shaft. Our marks are still there. If we can see them, our marks are right there where that goes, so we can get that back together. So this can get a little tricky here. Holes are pretty close to lined up, amazingly enough. So I got it in there just a hair. Now I'm going to spin my shift rod a little bit here. See if I can get it as lined up as possible. And push that in the rest of the way. Okay, it's in the shift shaft. Now we just have to clip it on. Push this down, and there it is. All clipped up and no place to go. So we're going to go ahead and clean these bolts up a little bit with a wire brush. You can hit them with a wire wheel too if you like it. It's fine. Clean them up. Get as much of the white stuff off as we can, all that aluminum corrosion. I always, when I do that, so I don't wear a mask, probably a good idea to wear a mask so you don't breathe this stuff in. It's extremely dusty. So clean this up. We'll get these bolts greased up, get them in place. I already put some grease down the holes where these go before I put the lower unit on. So let's get these bolts in there and greased up. What I like to do is completely coat the bolt, all those little spots. So this way I have as much grease as I can all the way down the shaft. And then it keeps the whole boat from corroding. Because a lot of times just the head snaps off because it's corroded right at the head. So make sure you get good amount of grease covering these bolts. Really good. Makes it really fun spinning them in with grease all over your hands too. So I like to tighten these evenly, go across. This way it comes up all straight together. Shouldn't have to, but I like to. I don't like to do one bolt all the way at once. As I look, I see my starter motor hanging off there. We're going to have to obviously put that back on. Also want to inspect the wire on that too. Sometimes these wires get corroded. It's been sitting there hanging off of the wire itself, so it probably wasn't a good idea, but we want to inspect that, make sure it's okay. Make sure I didn't break something. Okay, now we're going to check our shifter before we put that starter motor back on. I am the Outboard Dad. Please like, subscribe, and comment. Anything you can talk about, anything you want to share, any boat you're working on, motor you're working on, electrical problem maybe you're having with your boat, lots of electrical issues. We're going to do some videos on electrical stuff with boats next. So it's going to be fun. So let's check this shifter, make sure we're shifting properly in and out, because we did thread it in the same amount of times that we threaded it out. So we're hoping we're in the same spot. If not, we may have to remove the lower unit again. I don't know if I can spin that shaft. It's not a straight shift shaft. It has those bends in it. So I don't think I can spin it in place, or maybe there's another adjustment someplace else we can make. So let's make sure that that works properly, that it's in neutral when it shows, and also the neutral safety switch is closed so that we don't have a problem with trying to start it when it's in neutral. So we're going to check those things out, put our starter motor back in, and then we're ready to get our tub filled with water, and we're going to fire this puppy up. It's going to be fun. I am the Outboard Dad, here to help you have a better boating experience. Please like, subscribe, and send me any comments that I can help you with. Have a great day.